Hi guys, I'm back, and today I was thinking about all week what my second video is going to be for you and what I kind of wanted to do, and I thought about recipes, techniques, things like that. And what I finally decided on is we're talking about salt and we're talking about seasonings. And I know it sounds boring, but I'm telling you, if you get this stuff right, it's going to elevate your home cooking to like a whole nother level. It's going to make the biggest difference. And the biggest thing I could tell you, if there's, you can see there's a lot of stuff right here. I'm going to go over some of my essential spices. I'm going to go over a couple of basic rubs that you can make right now today with basic stuff that'll make a huge difference in your food. But the number one thing I have to say right now is the importance of salt in your food. Salt really, here's the thing about salt. And I learned this from, I watch the Food Network a lot, and I love my favorite chef is Amberelle. And she has a couple different sayings about brown food tastes good and things like that. And she really stressed the importance of salt. Salty food tastes good, and what it really does, it makes the food taste the way it's supposed to taste, if that makes sense. So if you don't have enough salt in there, it tastes bland. It just doesn't taste as good. But if you're seasoning correctly right along the way, and you could get rid of all these, and if you just had salt or just salt and black pepper, that would make everything so much better as it is. So just by those two spices. And so my favorite salt. The other thing. So the thing about salting is you have to salt while you're cooking along the way. So if you're making, if you're grilling something, or if you're pan searing or whatever you're doing, you salt that before you put it on. And you start cooking it or you're grilling. If you're making like soup, or if you make some sort of chili, there's steps in that. So you have to start with onions and maybe browning some meat first, and then onions, and then some of your vegetables, and then you throw in your stock or tomatoes or any of it, whatever it is. Every time you do something different, salt and pepper. Okay, so if you put onions in to start sweating those or whatever, put a little salt and pepper there. The next thing, maybe put some meat in there to ground. If you're making chili or something, you're going to put salt and pepper on top of that. Then you throw in some broth or something else, some sort of liquid to put in there. You're going to put a little more salt in there. So little by little, you're building that flavor. And the key is your food. You shouldn't have salt and pepper shakers in your house anymore, because the key is if you seasoned right all along the way, no one should be adding any salt to your food, and that's a good kind of test for yourself. So then you did it right. Obviously, once in a while you might go overboard with it, but So my favorite salt, and I really recommend it. There's different kinds of salt. The real basic one that probably a lot of you have, and the real common one, is regular, just table salt. And I very rarely use this. I literally bought this just for this video today. I don't have this here. This salt is good for one thing, probably just putting in salt shakers, or two things. Put in salt shakers because it fits out the little holes, because those are really tiny. Kosher salt doesn't fit there. And the other one is baking, really. So I'm actually glad I have this now, because when we're baking, it calls for salt, and sometimes it's more exact for those recipes that regular salt. So the other thing is, the one that I really like is kosher salt, and that's my favorite salt to use. That's all I pretty much use all the time. There's two different brands of kosher salt. If you go to the grocery store, you're going to find this big red box. It's called Diamond Crystal. I don't even know the name. I just know it's the big red box. And then the other one you'll find is a navy blue box. It's a little shorter, and it's Morton's kosher salt. So really, those are the only two kind of kosher salts you really find. I'm a huge fan of the red box. I feel like the crystals, they're smaller. You could deal with them. You could grab them in your hands. They melt very easily. The Morton's, those are bigger crystals. I feel like I don't know. I have a hard time managing my salt, and sometimes I overdo it. Sometimes I underdo it. So if you want to make a huge difference in your cooking, get yourself some kosher salt. It has nothing to do about it being kosher. It's just the type of salt it is. It has a lighter flavor. It's like sharper. So if you salt your food, it's just more of like a sharper salt. This just gives it a good flavor. So and it's really cheap. This big box is less than like $3, and it'll last you forever. So I have a couple different things that I keep it in here. I always have salt on hand here. So I highly recommend, if there's one thing out of all this, get yourself some good salt. Start using it. It'll make the world of difference. Okay. All right. So next, there's also sea salt. I have it. Sea salt's kind of used for garnishing and stuff. I don't use it too often, but really, this is what I use all the time. So, all right, so that's salt. The next thing I would say is pepper. I know there's pepper that's pre-ground and it's easy and you just shake it out or pour it out, whatever. It makes the biggest difference if you buy your peppermint, your peppercorn, your black peppercorns whole and grind them yourself. It just comes out in a nice light powder. It's like a different spice if you do it yourself. It's totally different. There's a couple ways you could do it. One, the real easy one, the best, if you have one of these little coffee grinders here, which I don't use for coffee anymore because it smells like spices. Right now it smells like pepper because I just did some for here. But this little thing, it's very cheap. You grind your pepper every like couple of weeks or every week or two when you need it. It's awesome. And the other way, this is more manual labor. I wouldn't grind a whole big thing of pepper with this is called a mortar and pestle. There's all different sizes. But this is more for when you're doing maybe like a spice rub, or you throw a couple different seeds or some pepper, things like that. You could even do paste in here too, but you really want to crack it and it's not really fully ground down, and then maybe you're adding that to a stew, or you're putting that on some meat, and so you get a little of that texture of some of the seeds and everything that I'll talk about after. But these are really good tool to have too. But the best thing for grinding your own salt, just get one of these and do it yourself. It makes a world of difference. All right. So, salt and pepper, right? Next, I'm going to go over here. These are kind of like, out of all the spices that I use, here's the best thing about spices. They add a ton of flavor, 0 calories, like none. It's over. There's nothing. So I know a lot of things that add flavor to basically the main thing that adds flavor to our food is fat and sugar. And I'm not saying those aren't good. I'm not saying I don't use them. I use butter. I use olive oil. I use different things. Fats are good in the right place where you're supposed to have them, but you don't want to add them all the time and everything. So spices add so much more flavor and variety to your cooking without anything other than the flavor or maybe the spice that they're adding. So I went through my spices, and these are I would say, I have a bunch, and you have to start little by little. I didn't build this up overnight. Little by little, like I would say, every time I went grocery shop, I would pick up one and add another. So I was kind of spreading out, maybe get 2 at a time and everything. So because they could be expensive, but start small. These are some of the basic ones. If you have these, I use them a lot. They're my most common ones, and so I'd recommend these. So a couple ones. First one I have is crushed red pepper is really good if you like heat. This adds, you could sprinkle this on top of food, or you could put it in if you're maybe sauteing some garlic and olive oil, or a base of a sauce or a stew. You can put it in that base and give a little bit of heat. But this is a really good common one to use. Another one, paprika. This is just an all-around good spice. I have a hard time describing what paprika tastes like, but it's used in a lot of, we use a couple of the spice rubs I'm going to show you. But paprika is a good common one because, again, when you're cooking and everything, you're going to see that spice that's going to be called for in that recipe. Next, cumin. I do a lot. I love Mexican cooking. And I love chilies. And I love all that stuff. So cumin, that's why I have a big, huge thing. So cumin, I love. I use a lot. I have seeds of this as well. But sometimes it's easy just to take a scoop instead of going through the whole process of toasting and grinding. So cumin's a real common one. Another one is thyme. I don't use that many dried herbs. Most of the herbs that I use are fresh. I chop them up. It's so much better of a flavor. And so I have a couple dried herbs, but the one that I'd say I use the most, you'll make it if you're making some sort of like anything that involves chicken or meat or some sort of stews, that sort of thing. You'll see a lot of thyme in that. And thyme, this is very strong, so you have to use not that much of it, but thyme I'll use pretty often. Another one is chili powder. It's an all-purpose. I feel like chili powder is just an all-purpose type of thing. You could sprinkle it on meat. You can sprinkle it. Definitely have it for stews and chilies and things like that. You'll find chili powder in a lot of recipes. This is just your basic one. It's not spicy. They have a lot of different varieties that add more spice, like whether it's chipotle or ancho, or sometimes spicy. There's some other ones out there. But if you just want an all-purpose one that's not spicy, that just gives really, really good flavor, chili powder, onion powder, granulated onion powder, kind of self-explanatory. I use this in a lot of spice rubs, and I'm going to show you my favorite in a minute with onion powder. Garlic powder is another one. It's convenient. And then another one is cinnamon. I use cinnamon a ton. You use it in all kinds of stuff. A lot of sweet things and some savory foods. So cinnamon's a real good one to have on hand as well. Obviously, there's so many others, but those are probably my more common ones that I use. And so start small. Start with this little mix. Add salt, add pepper, and these. What do I have here? 9. These 9 here, and you'll go a long way. So the first thing I want to show you, this is one of my favorite spice rubs. Okay, it's just an all-purpose rub. You could literally use it on anything. And I learned it from I call it the Paula Deen Rub because one day I was watching her, or I saw a recipe, and she talked about this, and she uses it in her restaurants, or did, and so I've been using it for years. It's best on like grilled chicken. It's just so simple. Any of my roasted vegetables, really anything. It's such a great spice rub. It's so simple, and you have everything. Okay, so and I've been using this forever for this rub, so I just put it in, shake it up, and we're good to go. So very simple. And so these spice rubs you could do, I'm gonna post. I'll give you guys so you can do it yourself. So you're not having to remember right now. But so it's real basic. It goes 4 parts salt, 1 part of black pepper, garlic powder, and onion powder. So we're gonna take a cup of salt. Okay, so that's your 1 part. So we have a little mess. You got a cup of salt, and then so there's 4, obviously a quarter. So 4 quarters in a cup, so you're gonna do a 1/4 cup of black pepper. This might seem like a lot, but you're gonna use this a lot. Right? It really, again, you'll use this a ton, and you'll be making more of it once you use it. So then we have garlic powder, so you're gonna do a 1/4 cup of garlic powder. Put that in. It's like building those, those old sand things where you do the different colored sand. And then last, we have onion powder. Oh, this one's open. 1/4 cup of onion powder. I think I might need a little more. Okay, 1/4 cup of onion powder. Put the top on, shake it up. And you're done. It's that easy. So simple. And like I said, it's really nice. Put it on everything, and give it a shot. You'll love it. All right, so that's my Paula Deen Rub. That's my first one. Next, I have an all-purpose barbecue rub. So this one, again, it says barbecue, but you could really put it on, you don't just have to grill. You could put it really anywhere. It's a really great all-purpose recipe. I put it on chicken a lot. It's really good on pork, and so you can even probably put it on vegetables. Probably tastes really good on vegetables. So first thing I have in here, I have a 1/4 cup. Again, I'm going to post all these. I have a 1/4 cup of paprika. Next, I need a 1/4 cup of brown sugar. Brown sugar. 1/4 cup of packed brown sugar. That's close enough. Okay. And then I have 3 tablespoons of fresh cracked black pepper, 3 tablespoons of kosher salt. In here I have 2 teaspoons of garlic powder and 2 teaspoons of onion powder. This isn't, I wouldn't say it's essential, it's good to have. Again, build your stock after a while. These are celery seeds, so there's 2 teaspoons of celery seeds. The recipe calls for smoked salt. Okay, I got it as a gift once a while ago. I've been using it for a long time. I probably will buy more once I'm out because I think it's really good. It's good in this recipe. You don't have to have smoked salt. It's not the end of the world. If you don't have smoked salt, just use 1 more tablespoon of regular salt. Okay, so there's a tablespoon of smoked salt. And then last is cayenne pepper. And so the recipe calls for a whole teaspoon of cayenne. If you like things spicy, definitely use that. I use just a little bit of I use a 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne because my family doesn't love spice. They could take a little, but not too much. So you're just putting it all in there, and you're gonna. The key with this though is just breaking up the hard part. Really is it's why you can't just shake it like this. Is that brown sugar? So you just have to take a whisk, and you're gonna break up the brown sugar into the rub. Once it's all set and good to go, keep it. Put it in a Tupperware or put it in a little jar or something. You'll have it for a while, and you'll love it. Okay, so that's my all-purpose barbecue rub. And then the last one I want to show you, again, another something you have all these ingredients at home. This one's a good one. Again, it's an all-purpose rub. I love it for chicken. I put it on wings or grilled chicken, and sometimes I'll do chicken thighs and everything. I have like the old Ron Popeil set and forget rotisserie. The thing is the best, and it's great for thighs. I put that on all the time for that. So this is called the 4-3-2-1 spice rub. I saw it in a magazine once. I've been using it for a while. So very simple. So you're gonna do 4 tablespoons of salt. Okay, so you have 4 of salt. 1, 2. Okay, 3 tablespoons. So there's your 4. Now there's 3. 3 tablespoons of 3 tablespoons of sugar, brown sugar. Now we get 2 tablespoons of paprika. All right, and then again, the original recipe called for a whole tablespoon of cayenne. And again, we don't do too much spice. So what I've done instead, and it's really good, just use black pepper. Okay, then 1 tablespoon of black pepper. So 4 tablespoons of salt, 3 tablespoons of brown sugar, 2 of paprika, and 1 of black pepper. Sugar stuff in there. Same thing, you're going to break it up, mix it up, and you're good to go. That's a really easy rub. You have all those things, and you could use that on anything. Use it tonight. So last couple things, just a couple other spices. If you really have, maybe you have some of these already, some other ones that I recommend. So in the seed world, a couple seeds that I have that I really love, and really add a lot, and you could toast them up and then grind them if you have something. Coriander, I love coriander. It just has a really, really good kind of lemony flavor. Cumin's real good. Seeds is a little different, you know, when you have the real seeds as compared to the ground already. And then fennel seed. I love fennel seed. If you don't know what fennel seed is, fennel is when you have like Italian sausage, and that it almost tastes like licorice. That's fennel, and so fennel is perfect with pork. And really simple. If you're gonna maybe grill some pork chops, what I usually do, I'll take my Paula Deen all-purpose rub because it already has has salt, pepper, all that stuff in there already. So I'll combine this with some of my other spices to sometimes make some different flavors. So I'll take all-purpose rub, the Paula Deen, and then I'll do some fennel right on it because fennel goes really good with pork. Just very simple. I'll crush it up a little bit. Put that, sprinkle it on both sides, and it just makes such a huge difference. It's so great. So fennel's a really good seed if you want to buy. Some of your warm spices. So you could use these for sweet things like these 4. I don't remember the exact how much of each, but this 4 is how you make pumpkin pie spice. So you have your cinnamon, ground nutmeg. You use this for warm things. Sometimes you use nutmeg if you make a bechamel or some other type of creamy sauce. You'll find a lot of, it calls for a tiny, tiny little bit of nutmeg. If you're ever making also homemade mac and cheese, Barefoot Contessa has a really awesome recipe, and she puts a tiny little bit of nutmeg in there. It just makes a huge difference. Cloves, very strong, you gotta use sparingly, and ginger. So these 3 are like common, real warm spices. And so, again, the combination is pumpkin pie spice. If you love that, I like to sprinkle that on, I'll do like baked sweet potatoes, and then I'll just put salt, pepper, a little butter, and then a tiny little sprinkle of pumpkin pie spice. Oh man, it's great. So you could use that. And then what else do I have? The only other dried spice that I use is oregano. So I use thyme or oregano. Other than that, I really don't use any dried spices. I have a little, just because a recipe at some point probably called for some at some point. But parsley, cilantro, rosemary, dill, what else? Tarragon, all those. Get them fresh and cut them up. Now that you have a nice sharp knife, you can cut those up. And yeah. Okay, so that's it for my little thing on spices. Remember, salt, salt, salt. That's the key to everything. Makes everything taste good. Add some more spices to your cooking. Try some of these rubs, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.